So I don't think it's going to work. I mean, this is incredibly stupid. Once again, the silver lining here is that they are desperate. And the reason why they're desperate is because of this. Mamdani holds huge lead in mayor's race, Times Siena poll finds. Okay? Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee in the New York City mayoral race, is way ahead of his three rivals, but his lead would diminish considerably if the field shrank to a two-man race. He's at 46%. If the 2025 New York City mayoral election were held today, who would you vote for? And as far as I understand, it's over anyway. The ballots are already being printed. So these guys are going to be on the ballots regardless. Okay? None of them dropped out. None of them dropped out. Which means that there is no way to ensure that every single person and every single vote is behind one of these guys, okay? There is no way that they can actually, now that the ballots have been printed, even if there were endorsements that came, like even if Eric Adams dropped out and then endorsed Andrew Cuomo, which is not going to happen, right? Even if Eric Adams dropped out and endorsed Andrew Cuomo, which is not likely to happen, he's called Andrew Cuomo a snake and a liar. Even if Curtis Sliwa dropped out, which I think is the less likely option out of all of this, and endorsed Andrew Cuomo, their names are still on the ballot. And therefore, there are going to be a lot of people who vote for them regardless. Do you understand? There's going to be a lot of people who just simply go, yeah, I didn't hear it. I still voted for my guy. Now, ultimately, this is the reason why I think these guys are incredibly desperate, and they'll get even more racist as the election nears. I suspect that they'll do a big push around 9/11 as well to try to associate Zohran Mamdani with 9/11 because they're just leaning on Islamophobia. That's it. Zohran is Muslim. They're trying to fucking be they're trying to be yeah, Muslim guy kind of did 9/11. His people did 9/11. Remember 9/11? His people did it. Do you want an insider to do 9/11 again? Like that type of shit. That's basically what they're doing. They're just hitting the racism line. New York about to be Mumbai 2.0. It isn't a phobia if it's rational. You think, first of all, you're in the chat of a Muslim dude. That's number one. But number two, you think Zohran Mamdani is going to do 9/11. You think that's a rational phobia. No, but Islam is responsible for many extremists. Brother, this is the worst time to say that. Okay? First of all, that's just transparent racism. But it is pretty funny to say that at a time of unprecedented Christian nationalism growing in this country, okay? Fascist Christian nationalism growing in this country. And also, Israel falsely is conflating every single action that they're doing at the behest of this Zionist project, which is a Jewish supremacist ideology that is exterminationist in principle. They're saying that they're doing this for Judaism. So right now, in terms of the Abrahamic religions, the only reason why you feel like the Muslims and Islam is responsible for many extremists is because this is the worst possible time. If you were saying this in 2001, it would still be ridiculous, but at least you could have a little bit of broad appeal for this kind of sentiment. 2025, 20 plus years after the failure of war on terror, not a good time to just deliver this racist sentiment, because it's one of those things that just slams you directly in the fucking face, that is just not real at all. Not that it changes the dynamic for you in any way, because you are not operating off of any sort of rational fear, even though you think you are rationalizing this fear, but it's incredibly stupid. Incredibly stupid to say right now, as opposed to any other time. The poll found that 46% of likely voters currently plan to choose Mr. Mamdani, the Democratic nominee, in a four-way race. As I was saying, hold on. By comparison, 24% of likely voters in New York City said they would support former Governor Andrew M. Cuomo, who is running as an independent after losing June's Democratic primary. 15% would back the Republican candidate, Curtis Sliwa, and 9% favored Mayor Eric Adams, the scandal-scarred incumbent who is running on an independent line. The survey captured the state of the race in early September at a moment of unusual flux. The day after polling began, the New York Times reported that President Trump and powerful figures in New York City were endeavoring to create a one-on-one contest between Mr. Cuomo, 67, and Mr. Mamdani, a 33-year-old state assemblyman and Democratic socialist. The extraordinary effort has included negotiations about Mr. Adams potentially suspending his campaign and accepting a nomination, this part is really funny, to be ambassador to Saudi Arabia. Presidential advisors have also discussed strategies to try to push Mr. Sliwa out of the race. The Times Siena poll underscored the potential impact of shrinking the field. Doing so, it suggested could meaningfully erode Mr. Mamdani's lead, but only if Mr. Adams and Mr. Sliwa, who have vowed to keep running, suspended their campaigns. Yeah. You miscalculated. I hate Cuomo more than I love corruption. Yeah, that is funny. That is literally what happened. They just thought that they could squeeze him out by giving him like a sweet deal, because they're like, you love deals. You love doing corruption. Here, we'll let you do some corruption. That's your favorite, no? Come on. Come on, let's get you out of there. Nope. They should have suggested making him the ambassador to Turkey, and maybe then he would have been down, I think. You know? They fucked up. Anyway, in a hypothetical head-to-head matchup, voters who initially supported Mr. Adams and Mr. Sliwa broke heavily towards Mr. Cuomo, a moderate Democrat. The survey suggested that would lead to an extremely tight race, with 48% supporting Mr. Mamdani and 44% supporting Mr. Cuomo. But if Mr. Adams dropped out and Mr. Sliwa stayed in the race, Mr. Mamdani would likely still hold a comfortable lead, given Mr. Adams' relatively low level of support. With just under 2 months to go until Election Day, the race has already been one of the most tumultuous New York City has seen in decades. It has included short-lived corruption charges against Mr. Adams, a comeback attempt by Mr. Cuomo 4 years after he resigned as governor in scandal, and the unexpected rise of Mr. Mamdani. The Times Siena survey is among a handful of independent polls in the race in recent weeks and showed a somewhat larger lead for Mr. Mamdani than others tracked by the Times. The new poll suggests that Mr. Mamdani's success so far is rooted in 2 factors. This is huge. Voters' personal regard for him and their sense that he is best positioned to address the 2 top electoral issues, affordability and housing costs. Oh my God, this is so shocking. Who could have thought that if you just listen to the people's demands, the people's wishes, the people's points of pain, and chose to address them, that they would respond positively to your candidacy? Who could have foreseen this? Oh my God. So shocking. No, it's the voting base that is out of touch. Exactly. They simply don't understand the dangers that Mamdani presents. If only we could do a couple more attack ads on him, then they would know. Okay? Then they would know how dangerous it is. Around 60% of likely voters said Mr. Mamdani was inspirational, had good character, and cared about people like them. He's the only candidate viewed positively by a majority of voters, despite months of attacks against him, because those attacks are failing, because those attacks are fucking stupid. Those attacks against Zohran Mamdani revolve around shit that people actually want. They say his campaign promises are impossible. They will ruin the economy. People go, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? The economy for me, personally, is already ruined. It's tattered. I can't afford shit. They say Zohran Mamdani hates Israel. He hates Israel. He hates Israel. People go, what the fuck? I hate Israel. What do you mean? And even attacks that comprise, like, they say he's hates Jews, right? The Zohran Mamdani hates Jews. Like, people understand that the reason why they're saying that about Zohran Mamdani is not because he actually hates Jews and is anti-Semitic. People understand it. It's because he's anti-Israel, and everyone else is anti-Israel as well, seemingly. So of course, most people have at the very least encountered online or on TV the exact same thing that I'm talking about. Someone who comes out and says, yeah, fuck Israel. What they're doing is terrible. We must stop it. We must put an end to this violence. And immediately they get pounced on, and everybody goes, oh, you must hate Jews. You must hate Jews. You want to kill all Jews. And people go, no, I don't want that. What the fuck are you talking about? So they've already experienced this, even if they themselves have not actually been public about their own personal positions. They already have felt the environment of insecurity due to the endless sea of counter narratives and attacks in this cynical direction. So when they try to fucking hit him on that stuff, when they try to hit him on this shit, people understand exactly where this is coming from. And Mr. Mamdani has an edge on all racial groups, leading Mr. Cuomo narrowly among black voters. Mr. Adams, the city's second black mayor, trails in third, and by a larger margin among Hispanic voters. Overall, voters said they trusted Mr. Mamdani over Mr. Cuomo 49% to 23% when it comes to handling the city's daunting affordability challenge. with the other candidates lagging behind. Mr. Mamdani's proposal to freeze rent increases on rent-stabilized units wins particularly strong public support. Nearly 70% of voters, including majorities of Cuomo and Adams supporters, favor the policy. How'd that happen? How the fuck that happened? They've been attacking him on that line as well. They keep saying, "Oh, this is silly. This is ridiculous. Good things are not possible. Vote for me instead of Mamdani. Good things are not possible. He's a monster. He wants you to pay less for your rent. Think about the poor landlords. He's just got slick slogans." And it's like people go, "No, man, I don't want you to tell me that it's impossible for my rent to be cheaper. What the fuck is wrong with you?" That is usually the response from people who go, "No, I heard him say he wants to fucking freeze the rents, and I love that." Increasing taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers, as Mr. Mamdani has proposed, is also widely popular, the poll found. Wow. Faith Dulaurier, 24, teacher from Flushing, Queens, said Mr. Mamdani's focus on affordability and his frequent appearances around the city had won her over, even though she's not registered with the party. "I want to see something new, different, actually active change," he said. By a large margin, likely voters also said Mr. Mamdani was a candidate who had best addressed the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. 43% favored his position compared to 16% for Mr. Cuomo. Only 16% support for Andrew Cuomo's "I'm going to take some time out to be Benjamin Netanyahu's personal lawyer for the International Criminal Court case." Wow. Mr. Mamdani has been among the most outspoken proponents of Palestinian rights and a longtime critic of Israel, describing its war efforts in Gaza as genocide. Mr. Cuomo is a staunch ally of Israel and has volunteered to defend its leader, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, from war crime accusations. Still, the poll registered potential vulnerabilities for the frontrunner, too. Voters have doubts about whether Mr. Mamdani, a three-term state lawmaker with a sparse resume, can deliver on his ambitious campaign plans. Roughly two-thirds of likely voters, including more than half of Mamdani's own supporters, said they do not expect him to achieve everything he has promised. Some 57% of likely voters have also said New York City should not follow through on Mr. Mamdani's plan to make buses free for everyone, even as a majority of New Yorkers support the proposal in theory. And they were divided over his affiliation with the Democratic Socialists of America. Leftist group, about 37% of likely voters said that having a Democratic Socialist mayor would be a good thing for the city, compared to the 32% who said it would be a bad thing, and 26% who called it neither good nor bad. Wow. So even his association with the DSA is either irrelevant or positive. A larger number thinks it's a positive association. Who could have fucking seen that? Despite Mr. Cuomo's primary loss, the survey suggested that he had more room to increase his support before Election Day than Mr. Adams or Mr. Sliwa. Now, let me tell you something, and this part is also important. I'm willing to bet that right now in New York and in many other places around the country, an association with establishment Democrats looks worse than an association with the Democratic Socialists of America. The DSA has a higher approval rating in New York and perhaps even many other parts of the country if they were to be able to operate with the same level of intensity as they do in New York City. They would be infinitely more popular than the Democratic Party, which is, of course, not that significant overall. It's like saying, yeah, people prefer a ham sandwich over shit from a butt, okay? Because the Democrats, broadly, on the national scale, are seen as shit from a butt, okay? A shit sandwich. That's it. That's what the fuck people think of the Democrats. We know that already. Excuse you? No, I will not excuse myself. The Democrats look like shit. They smell like shit. Nobody wants to be fucking associated with them. So the likes of Zohran Mamdani and many other seemingly radical candidates that are actually trying to implement modest social democratic reforms are unironically trying to save this fucking country. This is something that I keep repeating over and over again, and people get so goddamn mad, so much in their fucking fifis. Democrats are unpopular. The Republicans are unpopular too, but Democrats are also devastatingly unpopular. These guys, people like Zohran Mamdani, are exactly the type of people that they should be like grabbing onto and then trying to implement their fucking policies, try to identify why they're popular. And then repackage their dumbass campaigns in a similar vein to say like, oh yeah, we're radical too. We're socialist too, please. It's a different kind of Democrat. We're a different kind of Democrat. You know, one that is a real fighter. That's what they should be doing. The former governor has taken a far more aggressive approach in recent weeks to try to convince voters that Mr. Mamdani is too inexperienced and too ideologically left-leaning to lead a global financial capital. Mr. Cuomo, who spends a decade leading the state, receives high marks on his ability to govern. Roughly 50% of likely voters said the phrase would be an effective mayor described him well. Rodrigo Tobar, 64 of Queens, said he planned to support Mr. Sliwa, but was open to voting for Mr. Cuomo because of his experience. I like Sliwa because he's on the side of Trump, and I like anyone on the side of Trump, said Mr. Tobar, who works at Elmhurst Hospital. But Cuomo did a great job as governor. I think he'd be a good mayor. Roughly 2/3 of voters support a proposal by Mr. Cuomo to limit who can lease the city's nearly 1 million rent-stabilized apartments to those who would be spending at least 30% of their income on rent. Mr. Cuomo named the plan after Mr. Mamdani to draw attention to his rivals living in a rent-stabilized unit despite his six-figure state salary. Mr. Cuomo's plan to hire 5,000 more police officers is also popular and has support from many of Mr. Mamdani's backers. But there are signs that the key lines of attack by Mr. Cuomo are not working. He has spent months criticizing Mr. Mamdani for his past support for defunding the police department, a position the assemblyman has since reversed, and has argued that his rival would be ill-equipped to go toe-to-toe with Mr. Trump. Yeah, except this line of attack is, of course, the funniest one to direct at Zohran Mamdani, because Donald Trump is clearly antagonistic to Zohran Mamdani, and Donald Trump is clearly interested in making Andrew Cuomo the mayor of New York. Yeah. Siena Research New York Times poll of New York City voters. 39%, including 66% of young voters, say Mamdani has best addressed the Israeli-Palestinian conflict during the campaign. Only 17% say the same about Cuomo. Shocking. Here's another take on that front, by the way. New York City voters, including a solid majority of young voters who powered Zohran Mamdani's Democratic primary win, say the strident Israel critic offered the best approach to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict during the campaign. The New York Times Siena College survey of 1,284 registered voters conducted September 2nd through September 18th found that 39% of all respondents and 66% of those aged 18 to 29 said Mamdani best addressed the conflict in the Middle East. Oh my God. It feels like it feels like not backing away. It feels like not backing away from your position on Israel, a clear black and white issue on Israel's genocide, yielded the most benefits.